In a world full of frameworks and approaches, how do you decide when to stick with a plan and when to pivot away?
This is one of the core things, like any project manager that's got, a lot of experience. When things are not going right, the worst thing that we want to do is keep doing what we've always done. You're going to get what you always get. So I always like to use, there's always different methodologies and models and frameworks that we can leverage. But I always like to look at things when things are getting a bit chaotic. That usually means action. You got to do something different. You got to set up your projects right with the right information. You got to make sure that you understand the difference between certainty and uncertainty, predictive, agile, hybrid. And when things start going a little bit different than you thought, you might ask yourself a cool question. Do I have the right development approach? Am I using the right tools right now? And if you're not, you can't keep doing what you've always done, or you're going to get the same result or worse. Bad news doesn't get better over time. So you got to pivot. And that's why you need these tools, because they're going to help you be able to reach in and recall things and make those decisions, which is why emotional intelligence is so important. That's one of the things I train in the course, because you have to be able to understand how to regulate yourself. So then you can regulate things around you, and then you can communicate effectively so you can help influence better outcomes with your team.
Really good tips, really good guidance. Ben, I'll come to you with the same question. So in a world full of frameworks, how do you decide when to stick with what you're doing and when to pivot away?
Yeah, I think part of it is also understanding the data involved with how things are going. How do you know things are going well, and when do you pivot? Sometimes that feels like it's a gut call, right? Of, I don't feel like it's going well, but what is that data feeding into it? And part of it is going to be making sure that you're going to action, but also make sure that you're slowing down enough to be able to consider what is going on. Is it going in the right direction? Is it moving towards where we want to go? And ensuring that you get that feedback as well from the team, because sometimes you want to make sure that you're actually solving the right problem and not just one that you think may be a problem. You may be only solving the symptom. And that's where, for me, in terms of creative problem solving, is how do you take that larger holistic view to actually make sure you're progressing in the right way forward?
Yeah, really good ideas, really good tips. I'm quite well connected in with the Agile and the Scrum communities, especially on LinkedIn. And Scrum is badged as a framework. And the way I always think of frameworks is this is a roadmap. It doesn't necessarily tell you what the terrain's going to be like.
Nope.
So you might go in with a framework in mind and think, we're going to apply this and I expect to get these kind of results. It's important to go back and assess, is the roadmap matching the terrain, or the expecteds matching the actuals? And the key thing I try and talk delivery folks and project managers through is, don't take it personally if the reality doesn't match up with your plan. You've got to respond to that reality, not try and force your plan into reality. Does that make sense? Does that line up with your guys' experience?
Yeah, I call that the happiness formula. When your expectations and reality are further away, people usually get generally unhappy. So we're always trying to bring expectations and reality closer together. And so when you find them far away, you do leverage your data and always ask that, how do we get back on plan? Whatever that needs to be.
Yeah, great.
And I agree. I mean, part of it is being able to find that right balance of how you're approaching your leadership in delivering, right? There's a certain element of, when am I stubborn versus when am I confident? And maybe you need more time, maybe you need more data, right? All of those things need to come together for you to be able to make the right decision.
Yep, I love data. Love it.
Data's great because it just makes the job that much easier, isn't it? You don't need to be so creative and come up with all the ideas. You can just say, this is what the data's telling me, I should respond to this, not what I think is going on.
It's interesting, Dave. I set up an earned value management system for a major corporation, and I went in there. They had to get compliant, and trying to get people to just understand the power of the data was so crazy, because they were like, well, what do we do with it? I'm like, it's an early warning indicator. Every single thing we do in business comes back in the form of dollars and numbers. Track what matters. And if you do that, you can make those decisions and pivot so quickly. It's one of the most important things we can do is make informed decisions.
Absolutely, yeah. Absolutely.